With sailing just around the corner, Jagex decided to give us another glimpse of the skill before it's released in the game for us to actually just test out. The sailing beta was actually released like 5 days ago until this point, and it will actually stay in the game until, well, tomorrow, because they just gave us a week to test out the demo of the skill. Well, I decided to try it out. I actually have already tried out the alpha, so I'm already familiar with some of the aspects of the skill, so I'm not gonna go like super in depth into everything, but still I have some thoughts with my experience, so let's actually get into it. For starters, the skill is looking honestly really good. It feels RuneScapey, it's easy to interact with, and it feels like it has always been part of the game. And given how polished it already is, I'm honestly very optimistic. With that being said, let's actually get into what the beta actually offers. The beta allows you to go up to level 30 sailing, which the alpha also did, but let's ignore that. And it also has some activities for you to interact with. So essentially the way sailing works is, well, you first buy a boat, because you need a boat to sail around, pretty self-explanatory honestly, and then you simply go into a pier to embark, or I guess disembark, by clicking on the gangplank, and you enter your boat or you leave your boat. It's honestly that simple. You can either just stand on the boat, or you can actually helm your boat, or actually be in any of the little amenities or things that your boat will have in the future. Just being in the boat and traveling around actually gives you XP. Interacting with the gusts of wind, for example, gives you XP. Interacting with a lot of the activities gives you XP. So essentially, just doing sailing gives you XP. You don't need to do like anything specific or anything, just, interacting with the activity gives you XP. This is amazing because it overall makes the skill feel more like you are simply doing an activity while benefiting XP wise from it, without making it feel like you have to interact with it to, grind it out, sort of like agility, for example. For most of the beta, I was also really busy looking at where I was actually going, and I was just, very busy at paying attention to everything around me, all of my surroundings and everything, and just interacting with the various activities, to the point where I kind of like forgot I was getting XP to the skill. So yeah, contrary to many other skills where it sort of like feels like you need to do specific things to actually train it, here you're just training it by interacting with it as a whole. I don't doubt that some activities will definitely be much better XP wise than others, but it does feel good that as long as you are interacting with sailing, you're just getting XP, which is not the same that many other skills tend to have. Again, agility, you don't just get XP by just doing agility, you have to specifically do rooftops or agility activities, so yeah. But with all of that being said, what are, the things that you can actually do with sailing? Besides, traveling around, because I think that's very obvious. Well, besides traveling around, you can also customize and upgrade your boat, or you just buy a bigger boat, because there's a couple of boats you can buy. Although, honestly, the boats feel more like skill milestones that allow you to do more, or allow you to do certain things with more ease than simple cosmetic options, so it's sort of like a nice progression thing. In terms of activities, there's a couple of things to do. First, we have the porter tasks. These are basically tasks where you bring cargo from one place to the other, or the newest addition to the beta, you can go and hunt sea creatures. Speaking of combat, you can just build a cannon on your boat and shoot cannonballs at sea creatures as a form of combat. New to this beta, we actually have crewmates as well, which you have to unlock and then sort of place in your boat, where you can then assign them to certain parts of the boat and have things for them to do. We also have the return of sea charting, which already existed in the alpha, but essentially they are like little tasks you can do to chart the sea and write it down on your captain's log as a sort of completionist and extra XP type tasks. We also have shipwreck salvage, which again was already in the alpha, but basically you find shipwrecks and you use a crane and it yields some salvage that you can then identify at a port, which gives you materials like GP or bars or iron nails or whatever. And we also have the Barracuda trials. Again, these were already in the alpha, but basically they are navigation challenges. I actually did them in the alpha, so I didn't actually do them now. We also have quests. Currently there's only actually one mini quest available, but there's already a teasing of a second one that appears on the map. And then we also have a lot of other little things you can do. You know, it being sailing, aside from all of the activities you can do, you can just sail around, discover places, discover like little islands on the map and everything. You can, like for example, randomly come across certain crates and pry them open, or fight some sea creatures or whatever. There's basically a lot of things that you can just do because you're just, well, exploring. But basically this is the gist of what sailing provides. You can also sail with friends on the beta, since you'll be able to actually have other players with you on your ship, or you being in their ship. But I didn't have anyone, so I didn't try out that feature. So yeah, all things considered, you know, you do have a few hours of content here to spend, which honestly for a beta it's not too bad, and yeah, the skill does look kinda fun. However, with all of that being said, let's actually, you know, get to the fun part of the video, which is my feedback. Yes, I played through the beta just as I did with the alpha, and I have some things I kinda want to talk about. As I've mentioned above, I'm not going to go super thorough with certain things since I already played them in the alpha. Like, I'm not even gonna talk about the Barracuda trials, for example, you know, but I still should have plenty of feedback to give. Speaking of the alpha, there's an issue that I actually didn't have in the alpha that I had in the beta. So basically you can steer the boat by clicking in which direction you want to steer. On the minimap it works just fine. You click left, it goes left, you click right, it goes right. There's a sort of circle around your boat, so you know, you move your mouse around your boat and the little arrow where you want to move it moves with it. So because, you know, essentially that's sort of like the circly thing around the boat. Depending on where you want to go, you move your mouse in that direction and you go to that direction, right? You don't just have 4 directions either, like you have a full plethora of like 8 directions, I think. So, you know, it's pretty good. That's fine, right? However, as someone who prefers clicking on the screen rather than the minimap when it comes to moving, well, in this beta, for some reason, that circle of directions is off-center, like it has a certain drift. Meaning, if I place my mouse on the left of the boat, the directional arrow will send the boat to the left. But if I place my mouse on the right side of the boat, the directional arrow will actually be forward. Yeah, basically your mouse needs to be like super far away to the right in order for your boat to go to the right. Again, this wasn't an issue in the alpha, but it was an issue here, so I'm just gonna say this is like a beta issue that I have that is not in the final game, because honestly, in the alpha it was super smooth, the navigation was super intuitive and everything, so I don't really know what happened here, but I know that it's not supposed to happen, or at least I hope it's not supposed to happen, because it made navigation way more fucking annoying, honestly. Also something that already annoyed me in alpha, so basically you have the cargo tasks, right, the career tasks, so you have to take the cargo from one port and put it in your boat in a chest and then take it to another. But the cargo doesn't actually auto-load or unload, so basically you need to like take it from the docks, embark on your boat and put it on the chest, and then you arrive, you need to take it from the chest and then go back to the pier. The problem is, you will forget to withdraw the cargo from the chest a lot, like many times. So basically you go to the pier, you want to finish the task, oh wait, I forgot the cargo, I need to go all the way back, get the cargo, go back to the pier. It's kind of annoying. Sure, look, it's not a major thing or whatever, but it is annoying, and over time it will definitely annoy the fuck out of players, so I really hope that we have some like chest or at least some way to go to the inventory of the boat when you are at the docks rather than having to be on the boat, so you know, I can just take the cargo in case I forget to bring it, because otherwise it's gonna get incredibly fucking annoying, because believe me, I have played the alpha, I have played the beta, and I still forgot to take out the cargo from time to time. It gets really annoying over time. Speaking of cargo, that actually leads me to the courier tasks. So courier tasks are, as I mentioned, you know, tasks where you transport cargo from one dock to the other. It's basically a simple point A to point B type gameplay, with navigation, or at least navigating the sea being like the fun part, and honestly the tasks actually aren't as mind-numbing as they sound. However, I did have a couple of minor issues with them. First of all, a couple of times I would bring the cargo to another port and simply sit there not having completed the task. The task menu also didn't tell me anything. That's because sometimes you will need to speak to the port cargo NPC in order to claim your reward. that's completely fine. The problem is that the task menu of your captain's log doesn't say anything in terms of like your progress. Like a nice marker or a message saying, you know, you have delivered the cargo, claim your reward, or something along those lines would actually be a nice thing to implement, so I don't have to wonder if the task has already been completed and I just need to claim the reward, or if I still have like cargo to deliver because I didn't deliver the full cargo. So yeah, that little like message would be nice. Another thing I dislike is being able to accept career tasks from different ports. So if I'm in Port Sarim, I get shown career tasks from Catherby to Musa Point, for example. This means that if I accept this, I will have to go to another port to get a cargo and then go to a third port to deliver it. We should be given a list of recommended career tasks where the cargo is available at that port specifically, and another list with all of the tasks available everywhere in case someone wants to go for the highest level or the highest XP or the highest reward or something. Right? Basically just more choice in terms of the recommended tasks, so you know they're actually recommended and it, you know, clears the annoyance for new people trying out this skill, you know, because it is sort of an issue that remained from the alpha, and at the same time you do have the full list, so you don't have to go to different ports to try and get like different tasks, you know, so you'll just have like the full lists or the full tasks or the full list of tasks. So yeah, just again minor thing, but still. Lastly, actually on these tasks, I just wish there was actually a nicer spread of levels for them. I know that's a balancing thing, and as it's not very important for the beta because it, you know, balancing is usually the last thing you do, but just putting it out there because I think it's important. Another thing that raised my eyebrow are the tools for the skill and how they are obtained. So there is this small mini quest you need to do in order to unlock the crowbar. The crowbar is used to open sealed boxes you come across in the sea, which carry random loot. However, the rest of the tools are automatically unlocked. So for instance, the spyglass is just available on your chest at your ship, same for the duck and the diving apparatus. But then the weather thingy, you need to speak to the troll to get it, and you lose it once you talk with the troll again after completing the task. Overall, it's just kinda confusing, especially because the purpose of tools in RuneScape is very well defined. They all have the same weighting and behave all the same. So I really hope they actually iron this out and bring everything to speed. Especially I hope they introduce more mini quests to explain some of the other tools. I still couldn't figure out how to go to the precise spot of the weather tool, for example, so I just kind of brute forced it. I get that you want to leave some exploration for the players to figure it out themselves, but I think the skill already has plenty of that on its own, no need to do that with the tools on top of that. And while yes, I think some tools should just be available by default, I still think like a mini tutorial at the beginning could help mitigate confusion over these tools, and to a certain degree I ask myself if it simply wouldn't have been better to just have all the tools available from the tutorial to begin with. Otherwise it's a bit weird, like it's kind of inconsistent even, to basically just, you know, have almost all of the tools available, but then, you know, one of them needs a mini quest, so, and one of them is just in a random troll that you lose. I don't know, it's just very, very inconsistent. So, you know, you either make them all available right away, or introduce them through mini quests while explaining what they do, or just scatter them around for you to find and then give players sort of a mini quest to learn how to use them, or a mini tutorial, I guess. Because right now it feels like there's a, you know, sea of options when it comes to tools, which just makes it hard to know if you already have all of the tools you need, if you're not, and if something is actually a tool that you should pursue, or if it's just an activity that doesn't matter, or it's a bit confusing. Just like, I want consistency between the tools, right? I'm fine with mini quests, I'm fine with all of them being available, I'm fine with whatever. I just want them to either tell me exactly what tools there are and how they behave, or to just have them all be consistent. To move on to something really positive now, there are a couple of minor things I actually absolutely loved for Home Sailing. Number one was Redbeard Frank. This is the pirate involved in the free-to-play quest, Pirate's Treasure, but if you speak to him during the beta, he will tell you to enjoy the sailing beta, so it's a nice flavor dialogue for the beta. Another cool thing is the bank crab in the Pandemonium Island. It's just like a little cute thing, I honestly really loved it. Also, I kept getting confused with the big boats because basically you can only unlock a raft or a small boat in the beta, so I was wondering how the fuck these players get their hands on like the huge boats. It turns out it's just a trade cruise that you see at the ports going around in these ships, so they're like NPC run ships. Yeah, honestly, they did make the sea feel way more busy in between the ports, so that was actually really cool. So yeah, honestly, I really loved seeing all of that, and for some reason the group Iron Man player just roasted me. Yeah, there's also that. Now to talk about one of the biggest additions to the beta, the crewmates. These are NPCs that can help you while you travel around by automatically assuming control of the boat, the cannon, the salvage, and so on. The way you unlock them is by going around the game to find where they are and basically recruiting them. I'm unsure if there is going to be any additional requirements to unlock them, but for the beta it was just needed to like speak to them. The first one I recruited was by the Port Saren's pub, while another was all the way in fucking Narnia, honestly, in like a very secluded island. Which, I mean, look, I appreciate the exploration aspect, but are you sure you want to put some of these that far away? I would rather some of the crewmates unlocks coming from like quests than just being in a random deserted island, or if they are, at least like have a little requirement for them to actually join your crew, because in the beta it was literally just you speak with them and they just join your crew. So, for instance, G3 Gym is in an island requires 20 sailing to anchor at, but that island is literally a few minutes of traveling by boat away for a low level crewmate. Yeah, look, not very good. Aside from that, while managing them seems easy enough, the current interface makes it a bit confusing to know which crewmates are currently selected in your ship or not, especially because the slots interface just sort of make it confusing, because you can assign multiple crewmates to your boat, but they might not show up in your boat if your boat doesn't actually have space. So for instance, I assigned 3 crewmates to my tiny boat, and I was kind of confused why one of the crewmates just didn't show up in the boat. So I would love a little bit more of a visual clarity when it comes to that entire interface, and when it comes to the crewmates that are assigned to your boat and the ones that aren't. Also, please just make the management available everywhere, because if I need to go to Pandemonium every time I need to change a fucking crewmate, I don't know, man, like, that's honestly to me just gonna be so unbelievably annoying. Lastly, the crewmates actually have stats. These stats are never explained to you, and I found out they are sort of like levels that crewmates need to have in order to operate certain stations. So for instance, if a crewmate has Helming 1, they might need Helming 2 in order to helm your boat. As far as I saw, there was no way to improve these stats, and honestly, I don't think there will be. However, with that being said, if a crewmate meets the requirement, does having a higher level make them better at doing that thing? None of this was ever explained, they just sort of throw them in, so I really do hope that they explain these stats better once the skill comes out, because yeah, I was just kinda confused over them, and I have no fucking clue of like if the skills are actually needed for something, or if they're just arbitrary levels the crewmates need to meet in order to just be at certain stations in the boat. Other than that, the crewmates are pretty amazing. Basically they substitute the need to actually have a friend in your boat doing the menial tasks, and overall just smoothen the experience quite a lot. You still get the sailing XP you would by doing the things yourself, so it literally is just sort of a quality of life thing to the skill. You can assign where your crewmates work, so if you want to do something manually, you are free to choose what you want to do and what your crewmates should be doing. It's incredibly smooth to just command the ship, or like command where the ship is going at or whatever, while your teammates or your crewmates rather just sort of worry about the gusts of wind, or whatever the hell it is. Or for example, they automatically pick up the helm once you get in the ship, so you don't need to manually go to the helm yourself every time you enter it. It's just like very smooth in the experience, right? Another thing about the crewmates is actually the help they give you with the career tasks. So if your courier task requires, say, 3 cargo to be delivered, your teammate will carry the rest of the cargo to your ship, so you don't have to run back and forth to get them all. It's basically the same with unloading. Honestly, it just gets on the annoyance while making the skill feel more alive by using NPCs. I have never seen NPCs actually used this way, so I'm actually excited to see where they go with this, because I think that they can go way further. Maybe we'll get NPCs to play death minigames with us, who knows. Yeah, basically, for example, you can actually assign your crewmate to be on the cannon shooting monsters, and all you need to do is click which sea creature you want to attack, and then claim the loot for the kill. It's basically that easy. However, the same can't actually be said for the player. Unfortunately, if you are the one on the cannon, you will need to click on the sea creature every time you want to shoot it. This actually feels kinda clunky since it goes against the normal combat of the game where you click a monster and your character will automatically attack it. I feel that the process being automated rather than having to shoot every cannonball would be smoother, which ironically makes using the crewmate on the cannon a much smoother combat experience, especially because you will be worried about turning the boat and looting the kills. Speaking of looting, one of the issues I kinda run into was the fact that your cargo hold is able, or rather there's no way to dispose of the loot by dropping it, and your cargo hold doesn't really have a lot of space to hold all of it. So you kinda do need, or at least you're very limited in how many kills you can loot during the sea. So yeah, I mean, in a way I kinda get why they don't allow you to drop items. I can see a lot of players losing a lot of valuable shit by dropping it on the boat, right? Because, you know, clothing the boat on the sea and everything, you know, like you shouldn't exactly be able to drop stuff because it won't stay on the boat. I get that, but at the same time, you know, maybe the cargo holder being able to hold much more cargo, or having maybe a little thing on the boat that allows you to dispose of any loot you don't want, and just kind of like a furnace from the bank, for example, or something along those lines, because yeah, at the moment you kind of do run into that issue, and then having to go all the way back to port and all the way back just because you don't have space, it's kind of a little bit annoying. But yeah, also, and one of the very minor issues, it's the shark click box being so different from the visual model. So the shark has a certain animation when it's attacking, where the shark throws itself at you. So if you're manually trying to eat a shark and you have to shoot every cannonball, the click box of the shark will sort of not be the same as the animation, because the animation will go completely outside of the click box. So you will keep misclicking, which kinda gets annoying after a while. So yeah, I really hope that also gets a little bit sorted out. And lastly, when it comes to crewmates, the salvaging. Yeah, this one doesn't make much of a difference, because you just need to operate the winch once and you'll keep operating it while accruing salvage, and your crewmate does the same thing. So there's literally no difference, but it's still nice to not have to like do anything. It's just complete AFK at that point, so yeah, nice, I guess. But yeah, basically salvage is kind of the same with crewmates or not, and it's just more of an AFK ability for you to get loot rather than to get XP. Yeah, one of the best feelings of the skill so far actually has been the career tasks, especially because you can grab multiple tasks and just do multiple of them at the same time. The beta only allowed 2, but I think as you level up you'll be able to do more of them, which is actually going to be nice to like strategize and everything. The reason why career tasks actually feel so nice is because you just get to travel around, and traveling around is just like the fun part of the skill. So I think any sort of activity where you mostly need to travel around, especially in a more leisurely pace, because there's no time limits or anything to these career tasks, is honestly gonna be like the highlights of the skill. Moving on to the boat customization, I think the interface needs a bit of a lift up. A normal menu just isn't very enticing, and even then I kept clicking on the window with the materials rather than the build little button that you have. Honestly, I would just fuse both at this point, because it's a mistake I also did during the alpha, the clicking on the materials to try and build a thing. So yeah, When it comes to the facilities, I really wish they were also on the same menu as the boat upgrades. It's so annoying to go back and forth to check which materials I need, and given how many you do actually need, you are gonna need to do multiple trips to the boat because they require a lot of items. So yeah, basically, while it's nothing necessarily major, it does get annoying pretty fast. So you know, everything being able to like be done from the same menu, in my opinion, would be much better. Or then just sort of bring the boat from the water to the actual pier, so you don't actually have to run that far away, sort of like in a suspended winch or something. You know, just something that makes it less annoying to always have to embark and disembark on the fucking boat just to like see, oh, like how many materials do I need for this specific facility? Oh, I brought steel nails rather than iron nails. My bad. Time to disembark again and go back again. It's just kind of a bit annoying. So I hope that they do something about that. Yeah, another thing, and lastly, I got really fucking confused about this, and I'm pretty sure this is new, but it's the orange blobs on the water. For some reason, sometimes there's random orange blobs on the water, and if you go over them, they give XP and disappear, and I have no fucking clue what they're supposed to be or supposed to do. I literally just don't know what they are, like at all. They just sort of appear and disappear, they give you XP and that's it. So I'm kind of like the Gusts of Wind, you know, that show up on screen. I get that. You go to that spot, you get a Gust of Wind, the boost in speed. I get that. But the orange blobs, I couldn't figure out what the fuck they're for. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed how easy it is to actually engage with activities, and how easy it is and how intuitive it is to actually just move the boat around. This was also one of my highlights in the alpha, and it was one of the main worries for the skill, because to me this skill either lived or died by how easy and intuitive and how satisfying the movement was, because the movement could have been incredibly clunky, and I mean, just look at the Bon Voyage quest. Or it could have been, you know, really nice, really intuitive, really smooth, and currently, I think it's honestly very smooth. Again, like, maneuvering the boat pretty much just feels like you running around RuneScape, you know what I mean? It's that easy, right? It's that satisfactory, right? So, I think they have done a really, really good job on that, you know, because it's literally just, you know, the way you run in RuneScape is basically you click to the place you want to run. With the boat, it's kind of the same thing. Like, if you want to go forward, you just click forward and your boat goes forward, you know, and then if you go against the pier or something, you know, click to go to the left or whatever, and your boat turns to the left, right? It's that simple. So I'm really glad that the skill actually turned out nicely when it comes to the actual navigation, because again, like, the activities to me are just an extra. The core of the skill really is the going around and the navigation. And honestly, after you get your crewmates, especially on the helm of your boat, it just literally allows you to maneuver both the boat as well as walking on the boat itself without even needing to like click anything extra or anything like that, right? You can literally do both by just clicking wherever you want to go, right? So yeah, and the XP being very passive, even with teammate, or I keep calling them teammates, god damn it, with crewmates, it just makes the skill feel sort of, again, not focus on the XP necessarily, but focus just on the navigation aspect of it, right? It's just, you do the skill and the XP will come, so you don't need to worry about doing a specific activity because, oh, this activity doesn't, you know, give me any XP. No, it will always give XP because you will always be traveling around, right? And traveling around just gives you the XP. So that's really nice. The skill honestly feels like old school RuneScape, but at the same time it has a lot of the, I guess, same advancements that skills and modern skills have had in RuneScape 3, like for example archaeology, you know, like basically the skill is easy to do, but the skill also encompasses so much more than say just lighting fires, for example, right? Because that's the thing about, honestly, and you know, archaeology is a very good example of that. Archaeology is a very good old school RuneScape skill in the sense of like it's very easy to just do. You just dig up artifacts and you repair artifacts, right? But the way it's presented and everything, it just feels so much more full and so much more like interesting and engaging than, you know, just mining some rocks or whatever. So I'm really glad that they did sort of that fusion, and I honestly cannot wait for the full release of it. To me, 10 out of 10. I can't wait.